same question I had, because we were talking about parking and then having 100 people or so on weekends when they have...
All right, I'll call the Tuesday, March 5th, 2024 meeting of the Wethersfield Planning and Zoning Commission to order. I guess I'll take the attendance. I'm here. Vice Chairman Ryan Allard is not here. Clerk Joe Hammer not here. Tom Deane.
Here.
Dave Drake. Dave Edwards.
Here.
Tony Humicki.
Here.
Jim Hughes. George Oikel. Joe Ercolani.
Here.
Pete Lambruni.
Here.
Paul Thompson. Okay, so that's 2, 4, 6 of us. Everybody will be seated. First item on the agenda, application 217124Z. We're going to carry forward to the next meeting. The applicant is not here. The second one is a public hearing. The way the public hearings work, we call the applicant forward. Their representative makes a presentation. When you're going to speak, please identify yourself by name and address or company and title as appropriate, just so that we have it for the record. And describe what it is that you want to do, what the application is. I know you have a team of people that are going to be bringing in different parts of that, so you can kind of lay out how the presentation is going to be made. Once you've made the presentation, there'll be some back and forth with members of the commission, probably some questions, clarifications. Once that's done, we'll open it up to members of the public who have any questions or comments on the application. Again, members of the public who want to speak, please come to the microphone, identify yourself. After the public has had an opportunity to participate, we'll have the applicant come back up, respond to any public comments, answer any additional questions that the commission may have. And if at that point we believe we have enough information to make a decision on the application, we'll close the public hearing and go into deliberations. If for whatever reason we think there are open questions or information that we don't have sufficient to make a decision on the application, we'll continue the hearing to the next meeting, which is probably March 19th. So with that, someone want to come up and initiate the presentation on behalf of the applicant?
Yes.
First I'll read the notice. Public hearing 2172-24Z. AccuBranch seeking special permit in accordance with section 52C4 of the Wethersfield Zoning Regulations for a new Dutch Point Credit Union branch building with 2 drive-through lanes located to the north of the main entrance at 1267-1301 Silas Deane Highway.
Great. I think we're waiting for the screens to come down. Thank you. Well, good evening, Planning and Zoning Commission members. We're pleased to be here. I'm Nancy Nesbitt. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of AccuBranch. And on behalf of our team, we're pleased to be here tonight to present our plans for a new Dutch Point Credit Union branch to be located at the Golf Brook Shops on Silas Deane Highway. Our presentation agenda tonight is going to include the following items. I'll start by giving a project summary, sharing some of the photos and a couple renderings. Then Eric Lindquist from Ty & Bond, who's our civil engineer, will present the submission drawings on the traffic study. Alan DeToma from Solidus is going to share the floor plans and the renderings. And then Paul DeLubac from Hartford Sign and Design will review the building exterior signs. We're here tonight to ask for your approval for a special permit to allow a new Dutch Point Credit Union branch to be located at the Golf Brook Shops. The bank use is allowed under the RC zone. However, we need a special permit to allow the drive-through lanes that will be required for the new building. We did receive unanimous approval from the Design Review Advisory Committee last week, so we're here to seek the special permit. The rendering you see on the screen shows the relationship of the branch building to the shopping center. And this next shows it even further, and particularly in relationship to the Buffalo Wild Wings. So you can see it's right on the front right corner as you come into the shopping center. These are photos that are taken from Silas Deane Highway as well as from within the shopping center, showing the location of the new branch in relationship to the center. And the yellow box is sort of indicating where in the center the new branch will be located as you're looking at it from various angles. Joining us tonight from Dutch Point Credit Union are the following: Charlene Tanner, President and CEO, Michael Kleinschmidt, their Chief Financial Officer, and Stacy Collins, their Chief Experience Officer. Dutch Point Credit Union has been in the Hartford area since 1960. They moved to Wethersfield in 1976 to their current location at 195 Silas Deane Highway, and then expanded that building further in 96. Their current building encompasses their corporate office and a branch for their members, which is what they call their customers. This new location at Goff Brook Shops is going to offer them a new branch building of 2,484 square feet in a highly visible location with 2 drive-through lanes to better serve their existing members and attract new business. The design of the new branch building has been carefully designed to be a very attractive and modern facility, which we believe will enhance the commercial area on the Silas Deane Highway. The credit union will remain at their existing office space. Moving the branch is going to allow them to expand that office space since they've been growing extensively and have really outgrown where they are and need to expand their corporate space. Dutch Point is also very involved with the town of Wethersfield and have supported your community. They participate in the town's festivals. They're active members of your Chamber of Commerce. They're supportive of your school system, participating in job fairs in the high school and offering financial literacy classes for the students. They also hire local high school students for summer jobs as tellers and interns, and they financially support many of your local causes. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric Lindquist from Ty and Bond, who will walk through the submission drawings and the traffic study.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Eric Lindquist. I'm a senior project manager at Ty and Bond, and I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut. So I just want to start off with the existing conditions plan. I'm not sure if you guys can see the mouse on here, so can you see that? Okay, I just want to make sure so I don't start fiddling around here and you guys don't see what I'm doing. So basically, as you can tell, there's the existing, used to be chips, I forget what it is now, but over here that was recently done a few years back. We're looking to do something similar on the right side of the entry in the area where there currently is the egress lane that goes to the north and feeds the rear of the building for fire access. So what we've shown on our plan now, and you can see in the overall site plan here, is this is where it now is situated, a little bit further back off the road than the former chips was, providing us a nice green space there. And we've reallocated the parking and reduced it, as you can see from the summary on the table there. The current required parking based on the uses is about 369 spaces. There was a significant overparking of 478 spaces, so this reduced it by 96 or 98 spaces, I forget the number, down to 380 spaces. So we're still above the required parking. A lot of that, what people don't realize, is located in the back, as you can see it to the west of the building. There's a lot of parking back there that really isn't used currently. So the goal in the future is going to be that a lot of the employees and people that are there more often are going to be parking in the back, freeing up more parking in the front, and just making it a really enjoyable parking experience for the people who are using the facility. So as I go forward, we reviewed this with the fire marshal and discussed the best route for servicing fire access around the building. They actually feel this is a better solution than was there currently. I know DOT is going to be happier with this intersection being further into the driveway, so this is a net benefit all around. So the fire access will come through the site and go to the back as we're showing in green. Like I said, we reviewed this with the fire marshal, and they are very encouraged by what we've done, and they're in full favor of it. So as we go through the site plans, you can see now we have, before there was the one-way access that was down in this area, so we've essentially relocated this further to the west, further into the entry drive, so it's a one-way entrance, and then once it gets through that neck, it opens up to a two-lane, I lost my mouse, but it opens up to a two-lane road to the rest of the parking area where the fire access I just showed was. So we tried to maintain the existing functionality of the parking as much as possible, the same flow, so we put some nice end caps at each of the bays of parking to frame that fire access lane and the access lane for everyone else. So now we have a new teller loop that kind of comes in through here that still services and has full access for circulation for people to navigate looking for parking spaces. If they're full, they can go somewhere else, while also providing a way for people to come into the teller lane. If someone gets in there by accident, even though it'll be well signed saying teller only, there'll be a bypass lane just after you enter that will allow someone to get out so they're not held up in the teller line waiting to get through. We've provided accessible parking at the front of the building for nice and convenient accessible access. We tried to provide as much parking there as possible while still providing really good pedestrian circulation. We've maintained the sidewalk coming through the entry drive and provided a crosswalk, so it's a much safer intersection now than it was before. It's a much narrower intersection, so that helps out as well for safety. As well, by the front corner, we have a bike rack now. I keep losing the mouse, there it is. Over in this area, we put a bike rack, so that provides, it enhances the pedestrian environment for the building, so now they can also have bikes that come into this area. So it really just provides another amenity for the site. I would say the biggest significant change, other than a new building being there, is obviously that we're actually reducing impervious coverage on the site significantly. So this area that was formerly paved is now all going to be landscaped in this area to the east of the building and to the south of the building. All that former parking is now going to be grass, which will soften the environment. It will also be better for runoff, reducing runoff rates, as well as providing better water quality for the site. As we go through, really not much to talk about on the drainage and utility front. It's a pretty basic approach to what we're doing. There's existing utilities on site that will be pulling water off of the main lines that come in from Silas Deane. We still need to coordinate with utilities. They typically want to have us get an approved plan before they really go to town designing with us, but we feel the best approach is likely going to be what they did over at CHIPS, which is a new utility pole that will be pulling telecom data and electric off of. We show right on the main island here a new transformer that will service the building, and then there's existing gas on the far north side that will be bringing along the front inside the landscaped area that abuts the Silas Deane Highway. So the utilities are fairly straightforward. In addition, we're going to add a catch basin out there. The site is actually pretty flat, and it was difficult to get the drainage. I apologize, I flipped that. It was a little difficult to get the grading to work because I like to have a good pitch to get to the catch basin structure, so I did add another structure out there, which enables me to collect some roof drainage as well as an area drain out in front of the building because it's, like I said, it's pretty flat out there, so this will help us to better drain the area. The drainage system is very high, so it's a pretty shallow system, so we aren't really able to put any structural controls out there for water quality. We reviewed that with the town engineer, and he understood why we kind of weren't able to do that. So what we have done is provided hoods over the catch basins, over the exiting pipes, which will trap oils and sediment, so that will enhance water quality as well that currently isn't provided out there. So that essentially is the drainage, and like I said, since we're reducing impervious coverage on site, there will be a net reduction in runoff, so that also will enhance water quality as well. Sorry, go with this. Erosion controls, once again, pretty straightforward. We provide some perimeter fencing around the extents of the areas we're going to be disturbing down gradient. This is like the worst case scenario shown here. This will be a living kind of erosion control plan. We need to make sure we have fire access for the fire department at all times. We're only going to be fencing in areas that are being disturbed. Once we can kind of close off those areas, that'll be done, but that's going to really be part of construction logistics, and like I said, this is just the maximum extent we probably have fencing go out. The erosion controls are shown where they'd be out. They might not be out there the entire time. We might get an area stabilized, or we might not disturb it until later in construction, but that's the general approach and what we see as being needed out there. That erosion control anti-tracking apron by the driveway, that might not even be put there because that will be one way in, and we're not going to probably be sending construction traffic out that way, but I showed it just in case they needed to do that. So that would be shown. Here is the landscape plan, the rendered landscape plan, so you can see how much more green space there is now around the building. The darker green is a lot of the new landscaping, whereas the lighter green is more of the existing, the areas we're really going to be seeding. So we've provided a schedule of plantings in the plans. I'm not the landscape architect, so I'm not going to be able to tell you all the nice features about each of these plants, but they're trying to match the existing flavor out there, matching the types of trees that are there, the types of shrubs that are out there. One thing that was brought up in design review was about visibility of the building and making sure we can see it, because that's a big part of why this area was chosen. So we really don't want to screen the building too much with landscaping, so we tried to frame it nicely, really enhance the existing landscaping out there while still softening it enough so it's a beautiful building, nice landscaping that gives it a good positive feature, but doesn't overpower it with too much landscaping and take away from the building and the visibility. These are just some examples of the planting that are out there. Like I said, there's some nice landscape features, the nice flowering plants, crab apples and things of that nature. The autumn blaze maple will have a nice pop of color in the fall, so it's a nice blend of materials out there that'll go well with what is out there currently. The last thing I'm going to be talking about with you is the traffic. This is a pretty insignificant numbers right here each day, weekday morning, weekday afternoon, and then Saturday midday. We're not even getting close to 100 trips generated per day, which is considered pretty minimal, seeing as Silas Deane Highway is 10,000 average trips daily. So this is like a blip on the radar for them. Usually there's a 10% fluctuation on a day-to-day basis with traffic. So if you're not affecting that too much, the OSTA and Connecticut DOT aren't going to be concerned with that much at all. Like I said, this is fairly minimal, and we currently have an application with OSTA right now because this facility is an MTG, major traffic generator. So we've submitted our application with them and they're reviewing it, but we do not anticipate getting any comments from them related to any things we're changing. Like I said, I think they'll see this as a net benefit overall because of what we're doing with the entry drive and moving that one-way entrance. And with that, I will pass it along.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Alan DiToma, Executive Vice President with Silas, also the account representation for Dutch Point Credit Union. I'm going to review with you the floor plan and renderings. I promise I'll be brief. You can see here is the floor plan for the branch, which is consisting of 3 Universal Banker offices as well as 1 Universal Banker pod. There's also some casual meeting spaces and waiting in the space to support the rest of the facility. And predominantly the right-hand side of the floor plan that you're viewing is kind of behind the scenes, what we call back office for the credit union. And to the far right, you're seeing the 2 drive-up lanes. Both lanes are being served by self-serve ITM technology, which is essentially a video-based ATM, which I'm sure you've all used an ATM at some point in time. Top of the page is the plaza side of the facility. So that's the main entry coming into the building. Bottom side would be the Silas Deane part of the building, so it's facing the road. This is an illustration view from the plaza entrance. You can see it's a rather modern-looking facility, and it's a very strong brand representation, which is significantly important for the credit union. This is going to be deemed their flagship branch coming out of their headquarters and having it stand alone. So it was very, very important to the credit union that they have a very strong presence and an identity that matches their brand and their commitment to their member base, and at the same time distinguish themselves from the other financial institutions in the industry. You can see in the far background is the Buffalo Wild Wings. There was substantial coordination with Buffalo Wild Wings through the landlord with regards to building height and visibility because of certain requirements that they have in their agreement with the landlord, which we had to comply with. This elevation is looking straight on from Silas Deane, so if you were standing on the sidewalk looking into the plaza, the far left-hand side is what we're calling a tower element. The back side of that is the entrance to the facility, and we were striving to achieve a high level of transparency in the building so that you could see into the facility and let the brand project outward from inside the branch. The far right-hand side, you can see the cars stacking up at the drive-up. Now we've shifted our view a little bit more to the right, and you're seeing kind of head-on into the drive-up facility. Again, we're still looking from Silas Deane. Buffalo Wild Wings is to your right, entrance is to the left of this view. And we're coming around the building, we're going kind of counterclockwise. You're now seeing the view of the drive-up. The design of the canopy was done to be architecturally consistent with the roof lines of the building, so it seems as though it's almost slicing through the building. It's developed to provide obvious coverage to the vehicles and to the members that are utilizing the equipment on the drive-up lanes. We've now come full circle, we're all the way around the building. We're now facing Silas Deane with the plaza to our back. You're looking at the right-hand side. The entrance of that tower, this is how you would enter into the credit union, and your eyes are not deceiving you. There is a pitch to this tower. It pitches down from Silas Deane towards the plaza, so the elevation we're looking at here is lower than what it would be on the other side that I was showing you a moment ago. Now we've come around to the right side of the building. The plaza's to your left, Silas Deane is to your right, and what you're seeing here in the front left corner is the entry vestibule, and then to the right side, what you're seeing is what they're referring to as living room space, which is a casual meeting space that's actually projecting out from the building. And now again, you're seeing another view of the entry, and we have a view here on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You're now in the vestibule, walking into the facility. There's high visibility from the folks that work inside, which is a necessity from the credit union, from not only security, but from serviceability and being attentive to their members. These two views are inside. I'm standing essentially in the tower area. The top image, I'm looking at the offices in the background, and the foreground is the check desk, if you will, and in the background is the Universal Banker pod, which is where you would conduct your transaction. Bottom image, you're sort of got the entry to your back. You're looking out through the glass towards Silas Deane. In this view, I've got the living room behind me, and I'm looking straight on at the Universal Banker pod. Plaza to your left, Silas Deane to your right, and in the background you see that Universal Banker pod, which is where you would conduct your transaction. I've now turned around completely. I have the transaction area to my back. I'm now looking at the tower, and in the background you're seeing the casual meeting space we're referring to as a living room. And that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you.
Hello. For the record, my name is Paul DeLubac, and I represent Hartford Sign Design. I'm the lead designer. So I guess the first thing you'll notice is the placeholder logo from the renderings has changed. This is the actual logo that that Dutch Point uses today. What you're looking at in the signage is the side that faces Silas Deane, and we have two areas for signage at this viewpoint. The first is what we would call a front halo-lit remote channel letter sign. That's the Dutch Point Credit Union verbiage. Alongside it is a capsule. It's called a push-through capsule with the main trademark. And that main trademark is repeated on the left-hand side tower. There's a total of 5 signs, all adding up to 125 square feet, which is the town allowance for signage. This is the opposite view from the plaza, viewing the entryway. And you see the similar footprint where on the top area, the main lockup with the trademark and the logo represented in the same fashion as in the front, alongside the entryway with the trademark marking the architectural entry for the bank. This is the night view, showing how the signage will illuminate. As I said earlier, it's a front-lit, halo-lit signage with the capsule with the push-through. And the push-through is the windmill trademark. The approach for this type of signage is typically very clean and more upscale than other forms of signage where, it's more of a box sign or other types of signage that isn't terribly appropriate for this level of architecture. And this is the side that is alongside the entrance as you drive through. And it's the trademark insignia for the bank. And again, the night view. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thinking this question might be for Eric. Did you get the memo from Derek Greger with his comments dated yesterday?
Yes.
There were 23 of them. Did you have issues or questions about any of them?
No, there were a couple things I think I'll need to talk with him about and clarify related to, you had a comment about the water main, which I wasn't sure what he was saying. I think it is shown fully, but we could talk about that. But all the things he asked for, additional spot grades, potentially providing a rain garden out front. I believe he looked for some infiltration. We could definitely provide something like that for roof leaders, and we'd be more than happy to review with him options to do that, provide those things. But yeah, I don't think any of us took any issue with any of the things that were noted on here. Most of them were just additional clarifications and things of that nature, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, that was my impression too, but I didn't want to leave it unasked. And the plan review comment from the fire marshal was pretty straightforward as well.
Yep.
Okay, anybody on the commission have any questions for anyone on the applicant team? Tony?
I can ask Justin to give us an overview on his comments and thoughts. I think the critical issue here is the drive-through issues and dual access points.
Sure. So the drive-through is what makes this a special permit. If this was only a bank with a interior operation, this would only be a site plan approval. The drive-throughs is what kicks it into a special permit, public hearing type setting. We have, even before I started with the town, the applicant's been meeting with town staff for several months, I think starting in December. So there's been a lot of back and forth between the town and the applicant to make sure that everything that got to you tonight is, well-designed and appropriate. In terms of the stacking and the drive-through functionality, there's no concerns. As the applicant mentioned, the emergency access way that is sort of being rearranged a bit is actually a net improvement for the site, so it makes it a little bit safer for not only the bank, but also for the sort of around the building in the back. This is a net decrease in the impervious surface of the site, which is a pretty good thing. I think it's a little more than 2% decrease. And the only other thing I'll add is that last week they went through design review, unanimous approval. They looked at the landscaping, the lighting, the architecture of the building itself, and received pretty favorable feedback.
Peter?
Justin, maybe to you, a question on the number of parking spaces here. They showed some numbers, and it seems, he flips to it, it seems like there's plenty of spaces there. The only question that came to mind was, I don't know, 1 or 2 meetings back, we had the church come and said that they were going to be having 100 people potentially for services on the weekend, and we had a discussion about, where were they going to park and how was that going to go. Now, this has to have some impact on that discussion. Did you think through that? And is this reduction still appropriate in view of the church use?
Yeah, so this reduction still meets the parking requirements for the site. I think as the applicant mentioned, all of the rear parking that you see up here, which is, I think it's roughly 80 spaces or so, I don't know the number offhand, it's rarely ever utilized, and it's something that, according to the applicant, they've worked with the landlord to kind of start working to get some some of the employee parking to go into the back. The nice thing with the church aspect is the bank is very likely not going to be open during those hours because it's a Sunday. So the thing with this use is the hours that are going to be utilized here are really not going to have a huge impact on the major draws of the site. The only potential crossover would be Buffalo Wild Wings for like lunch hour. But by the time dinner comes around, the bank will be closed. What were the hours? I think 5 o'clock close by, or?
I think we have a late night to 6, one night a week, but for the most part, could be between 4 or 5.
Right. So staff doesn't see that there's going to be a significant impact in terms of the usage. This seems to complement the other uses that are there. I don't see a big parking impact for any negative with this addition.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, that was one of the concerns that I had, that, and I think people have become used to going to Buffalo Wild Wings and other uses on the north end of the plaza by cutting in immediately and then, just kind of going down lanes. That behavior is obviously going to change. Frankly, the times that I have gone there is usually Friday night to pick up pizza at Sophia's. And, at those times, quite often, the Buffalo Wild Wings has taken up a lot of spaces, and the gym takes up a lot of spaces, so, technically, there are a huge number of spaces in the back, but I would never think to go there because I don't know which building or which, uses you can get to from the back. That's primarily just because I only go to like one or two things there.
Now that we know where your favorite pizza place is.
It's one of the ones in the rotation.
Is there any issue with delivery truck paths? I don't know the present path the truck takes in there, but
Yeah, there's no big delivery trucks that come here. I know there's a loading dock that you can see right up here that was for a prior use. The gym doesn't really need that. So most of the delivery vehicles, I would assume, are going to be smaller SU-30 style trucks, like a FedEx or an Amazon delivery truck or whatever, and those could fully navigate this. The real big concern on this one was the fire truck. That's going to be your biggest apparatus, and as you can see on this, it's a significant sized truck, so circulating that in there, if that can get around and circulate like we're showing, most of the delivery trucks are not going to have a problem getting through here.
okay, I didn't know if they went across the front in the beginning.
Yeah, an SU-30 could easily go across the front and do that if they need to. I just don't know where they go currently if they go in the back or if they go drop off in the front or how they do it currently. But an SU-30, like I said, a 30-foot delivery truck like a FedEx or UPS, I don't see there being much issue maintaining what they're doing now because we're not really impacting that.
Okay, as long as the radiuses are there, there's no problem.
I think one of Derek's other comments asked about the dumpster. Is there one? I don't remember us talking about that.
From my understanding, there's not one for this building, but it would be.
That's correct. The credit union utilizes the janitorial service. They remove the trash daily, so they don't require a dumpster.
Okay.
Are the hours of the video teller the same as the entrance to the building itself? Video tellers can,
Those are going to be determined when the video tellers will be operating full time. We're starting to implement the technology, but for the most part, 24 hours a day, it serves as an ATM. So, with the video teller, when you're talking to an actual person on the other end, those hours are to be determined.
Okay. Could you just remind us your name and title?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
Charlotte Tanner. I'm President and CEO of the credit union.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I didn't know how long you were going to be, and I figured it would be shorter than the time it would take to walk over there, but I just want to make sure that we get you identified properly for the record.
you have to tell us where your favorite pizza place is.
I do go to Sophia's quite often, so.
The Saturday hours, what are they?
Those we are open Branch closes at noon, staff is out by about 12:30.
Tom?
Number of points or issues I'd like to have some questions answered. One regarding the hours. Do you anticipate that the hours of operation will be essentially the same as the branch office located, in the northern part of the Silas Deane Highway?
I guess if you're going to be put on the spot, I'd ask you to come up just so that we can catch you on the recording.
Okay. So currently, yes, we plan to leave the branch hours the same. We're just basically picking up our current location, nothing's really changing it, and putting it in the new location, the branch. The only thing that is changing is the ITM technology, implementing that basically, it's like an ATM where you can talk to a human if you need to during business hours, maybe a little after business hours, but.
Well, that leads me to another question. Does this indicate that you'll be closing the branch office at the northern end of the Silas Deane Highway in terms of public accessibility and use? And all those operations will be transferred to this location?
For the branch itself, yes, but the remaining at the other location will be the back office operation, our lending center, our contact center, administration areas, but also we'll have our ATM still there. We're not taking that out of the situation.
All your customers that live in the northern part of the town that now can simply walk to your branch office will now have to, because of the distance, will now be forced to drive down to the south end.
That is correct, but we could not, we had a decision to make, and we've been going through this exercise for about 2 years, whether we ran out of space to expand at that location. The building doesn't look like a bank building. It looks like an office building, like a dental office or a law office. It doesn't look like a financial institution. So we wanted to move it out of there so we could have a bigger presence. As I call it, getting out of the shadows. Right now, we've been down there since the '75, and you can talk to people in town, they don't even know we exist. So we need to get out of that location and move. And there was no, either that or we were going, one other plan was to sell that building and move our corporate office. So either way, we're going to have to either sell or move the branch. That was about the only thing we were left with because we're just grown out of the space. And obviously, we'd like to stay in Wethersfield.
And when do you anticipate those services will end at the northern branch?
Well, we had to file an application with the Department of Banking, and so they kind of regulate how we could stay open. So we think we'll have some kind of transition period, but there will come a point where we'll have to close down there. So we were thinking, we'll give our members plenty of notice that this is happening. And we do have a lot of online services for people who cannot actually walk to the branch anymore. So, I would say we'd give a month's transition between the two locations, but, we have limited staff.
I anticipate you do have, goal dates for this transition. Do you?
Yeah, but depending on the construction, and then we'll plan it out. So we want to get the ITM technology also at the Wethersfield branch, so that just because they can't go inside doesn't mean they can't talk to a human being through that video teller system. So we're hoping that will help bridge some of that gap there. But because of, we looked at a lot of options with AccuBranch and Solidus to see what we could do at that location, and it wasn't possible. We ran out of space And with the parking there, we've already ran out of parking. So we've had to rent parking from our neighbor next door. It's a good problem to have, but
If I may add to what Charlene was saying, the ATM that's going to remain at the corporate headquarters will continue to support their members in that neighborhood, as well as the online technology. And as far as the timeline of the project, obviously it's hinged upon this meeting this evening. And the state Connecticut Banking Department will regulate how and when they need to announce to their members. So that will be completely accommodating to the state requirements.
right.
And that would go above and beyond, the credit union will go above and beyond even that to support their member base. It's very important to them to make
Right.
sure their members are accommodated.
Just to also clarify, or I guess to state for the record, items I noticed in the application package. This application has no impact on any environmentally sensitive or regulated locations on or near the property, such as wetlands, water courses, things of that sort.
Correct. The closest wetland is, I think, southeast of the site, or southwest of the site. I mean, every water eventually gets to wetlands or whatever, but like I said in the presentation, we're improving water quality by reducing impervious coverage, so you're not having so many impervious surfaces which trap sediments and, pollutants from the area. You're not getting the remediation you get from a pervious area like lawn or landscaping. So we're enhancing that. We're providing hoods on the catch basins that we're affecting, which will trap sediment and oil in the catch basins, so that'll further improve water quality. So the net benefit to water quality is significant, but at the end of the day, we're not in a regulated area. We're not impacting anything of that nature now.
Kind of tracing back the chain of title for whoever, if this application is approved, whoever gets that approval. I'm not sure, because the application is in the name of a firm, a for-profit firm based in East Hartford. The Dutch Point is a not-for-profit consumer credit union. So would you explain, who has the various interests that are subject to this application and how that came to be?
Yes, so we are AccuBranch, we are consultants to the credit unions, so when I put an application in for this kind of zoning and permitting approval, I'm putting it in as the applicant on behalf of the Dutch Point Credit Union. So the approval will be going to the credit union. I just am the person that's here representing their interest for making sure we submit all the correct plans and that we come in with all the information that we need to take it through this process.
So essentially, your firm is a development consultant.
That's correct. We do, we found the real estate for them, negotiated the real estate, and helped to work with the team that you see here tonight to make sure we pull together all the appropriate plans and details that are needed for this kind of an approval process. But the actual approval will go to Dutch Point Credit Union as the tenant and the entity that will be building here.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, thank you. Just Peter.
I'm just wondering about the extent of construction that you're going to be doing here, which is going to be, I think, pretty intense for at least a period of time. So one of the questions I have, how long do you anticipate this disruption to go on in that area? And while all that construction is going on, you're limiting further the amount of parking, and what are you going to do about that, trying to control flow of traffic, where people will park, and safety that's going to be required with all that construction in that corner?
Well, I'll speak first, and you can talk about the time frame of it. But just from a logistics standpoint, and speaking with the fire marshal, I think the key factor here is developing this fire access road first. So that's going to be pretty much framing the extent of your disturbance, so that you're providing that access for them so that you can then close down their current access. So they need to maintain that at all times. So we can't close down the existing one until the permanent one is in place. So once you've framed off that access road where the fire truck is going through in green, That's going to be kind of framed out, and you're going to be working inside of that. In terms of durations, I can let Alan speak to that.
So how do you frame that green out, by using those islands there?
Yeah, that'll be part of it, yeah, correct. And then we have to do some paving and whatnot, but yeah, that's essentially it.
From a constructability
Fence barricades?
Yeah, from a constructability perspective, there'll be construction fencing protecting the site for obvious reasons, including OSHA. The duration of the project, obviously pending the outcome of this evening's meeting, we're anticipating a construction schedule that would be complete sometime in April of 2025. Obviously, we have to complete construction working drawings, competitive bidding, and so forth. All of that takes time. And then, of course, the physical construction. So, for all intents and purposes, essentially a year from now, they would be complete.
Anyone else? All right. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this application? Anyone in the public? Sure, come on up, please. Just give your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Jensen. I live at 193 Ridge Road. I just wanted to say I approve of the location of the branch. To be honest, I always found that parking lot incredibly ugly. It seems like it takes up so much space. To be honest, I'd like to see more businesses built there. I'd like to see that area become more pedestrian friendly. I don't know if there's a pedestrian access to the branch. I'd also like to say I approve of the bike rack for bikes. I think those should be more common in Wethersfield. But yeah, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else in the public want to comment on this application? Anyone else? All right, if not, have the applicant come back up just to see if there are any final comments or questions. Tony?
What's the term of the lease? I assume it's a land lease?
It's a pad lease. We are starting out with a primary term of 20 years and with options taking us out to 40 years. So it is a long-term commitment to this project.
And you have 5 other facilities total? This will be number 6?
How many branches do you have?
7.
7.
It'll be 7.
Yes, thank you. I should know that, but I apologize.
All right, anyone else? Okay. If not, does someone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All right, motion by Peter, second by Tom to close the hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? All right, someone care to make a motion on the application itself?
I'll make the motion to approve 2172-24Z for the special permit in accordance with 5-2CA for branch building with 2 drive-through lanes located in the north of Main of 1267, 1301 Silas Deane Highway, with special notations of the 23 items from the town engineer that would be satisfied with the application.
And the 2 from the fire marshal?
That's right, yes.
Okay,
I'll add that to it.
all right. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Second by Peter. Any discussion?
Just one thing with regards to all the issues that are contained or conditions that are recommended in Town Engineer Derek Greger's memorandum. There were a number of those. I think there were 3 or 4 out of the total bulk of how many?
23.
23, that still needed to be worked out, and some details or some modifications thereto between the engineer and the applicant. The applicant was amenable to these suggestions or recommendations, but it needed clarification on what was meant by some of these. And should we identify those, those that were, the numbers of those that require further clarification between the 2 parties, that is the town engineer's office and the applicant, on those particular points, or just, leave them be?
With my motion, I was under the impression that you understood each one of those, and Justin, do you have any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, so in reviewing this and hearing from Derek, and I know the applicant had talked to Derek, they're pretty straightforward comments. I think there's a few that the engineer just needed a couple clarifications on the point of the, like the locations and whatnot. But I don't think there's really anything in here that would present any conflicts or any, insurmountable confusion.
That's good.
So when I seconded your motion, Tony, I understood you to say that you expect this applicant to basically close out the 23 items to the satisfaction of the town engineer.
Satisfaction.
The town engineer may decide not to go with one or the other. That's up to him after he has a discussion. But whatever the conclusion is, I hope that the town engineer will say, fine, I'm satisfied with everything, right? That's what you had in mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think to Tom's point, I mean, a lot of these are show this, show that, confirm this, confirm that. Item 1 is, consider putting in low-impact development kinds of things. During the public hearing, the applicant indicated that they were willing to consider that and would consult with the town engineer to come up with some, potential resolution of that. And, I anticipate that will happen, and, kind of our practice has been that if, it gets to the point where there's a disagreement between the applicant and the town engineer, we end up having to kind of mediate.
And that has happened.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's going to happen on this one, but it has happened before.
Yep.
The biggest concern we haven't talked about is March Madness in Yukon filling up Buffalo Wild Wings. You might not have any parking.
Well, I don't think they're going to do work on like
That's
Friday nights. All right. Did that address your concern, or do you want to talk about it?
I'm amenable to, to the motion as presented, and it operates under the presumption of good faith on the part of everybody, and that seems reasonable under the circumstances.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I just didn't want to, cut you off if you wanted to pursue any of them more. All right. With that, everybody knows what the motion is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other business? Don't have any. Minutes of February 21st. Has anyone had a chance to look at the February 21st minutes?
Did we get these earlier? I don't remember seeing these on the email.
Yeah, they came with the packet on Friday.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain from voting on this since I was only at that meeting for a short amount of time. But in reviewing them, I do want to compliment the our secretary, our record keeper, for the excellence and comprehensiveness of the minutes that are contained. I appreciated being able to read them.
Yeah, I mean, they're accurate. Well, we can either make a motion or continue it to next time.
I'll motion to approve the said minutes.
All right. I'll second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, Tom's abstaining. All right. Staff report, that's you.
That is me. Just a couple quick things. The contracts for the Plan of Conservation Development and the Affordable Housing Plan were signed by the town manager and the consultants earlier this week. So we are moving forward with that. We're excited to get that going. So next meeting, I plan to have an update and some scheduling, for you to be thinking about that.
Justin?
Yes.
If I may ask, I know you asked for some volunteers to support you. Do you have enough now? I mean,
I know you're one.
I know I'm one. I hope I'm not the only one.
You are not. I know Dave has volunteered as well.
I did also.
Tom also did.
Okay, good. So you're all set.
I'll be available.
Perfect.
What are you volunteering for?
POCD, a subcommittee. We've been bringing it up to different boards and commissions as well. Everybody's pretty excited to get going with that. So just one note about this, keep in mind, if we approve it this year, it'll be the 2024 into the 2034, which is the 400th anniversary. So it's
Of Connecticut's oldest town.
That's right. Just don't tell Windsor. And that's pretty much all I have for tonight. We do have a number of applications coming up for the next meeting. We also have the Keisha Farm planning event this Thursday at 5 at the community center, if anybody wants to attend. Once that's done, some of my time will be a little bit more freed up, so I'll be able to dig into some of the things we talked about the last few meetings, the old Wethersfield parking plan, just so I can wrap my head around that, and also the idea of sending the campers and RVs and boats back to ZBA.
Yeah, apparently ZBA has already heard about that. I was confronted about that by a commission member.
One actual note, speaking about ZBA, the referral that was sent here at the last meeting for 24 Maple Street, the scratch and dent sale at the restaurant surplus, that was denied by ZBA.
All right, thank you. There's one piece of correspondence from Deanna Ford, 115 Church Street. I think we all have received a copy of it, but it's essentially that, she's concerned about the amount of business and buildings that are being built in Old Wethersfield, how much commercial activity there is, so close to residential dwellings and, complaints from residents of Old Wethersfield. So concern is for the change in the character of the neighborhood, and that letters are being sent by realtors who are acknowledging that Old Wethersfield homes may be desirable for purchase and potential commercial use as well. I think that's about it. The next meeting, we have, maybe the Wingstop people will be here for that one. Do you anticipate all of these coming in?
I do, yes.
Which is 161? Is that the Charles?
That's the Charles. Yeah, they're coming back for their temporary patio again for the year.
All right.
Then we have a shed that's over 200 square feet and a site plan for the Marshall's Plaza. You've probably already seen in the news because one of the news sources said it was going to be on today's agenda because it was,
Because it was on today's agenda.
It was, and that's going to be a Doro restaurant in the package store and the former Pasta Vita location.
Okay, thank you. One thing that we have requested in the past and rarely occurs is kind of getting a enforcement update on, from the zoning enforcement officer. I think maybe we got one a year and a half, 2 years ago, and at least some of the people, some of the commission members were kind of curious because, Joya's report on various properties is helpful because, it says, this is what's happening, and so forth. Because, we get asked constantly, what's going on with this, what's going on with that, what's going on with Metaplex, what's going on with 1000 Silas Deane. At least now we have some plausible information, that we can provide to people. And, I had asked previously, to get some kind of report on what was going on. And, what was generated was basically a list of the complaints that had occurred that month. The lawn was too long at 14 Hangdog in August of 2021. It's like, well, great. That doesn't tell me anything about what's going on with Metaplex, what's going on with 1000 Silas Deane. So we made kind of a clarifying request, and then stuff happened. So, not even on the top half of your to-do list, but at some point, maybe either you or through the manager, you could ask for, some kind of update on outstanding enforcement matters, rather than just, kind of the status of the last month's worth of them.
Sure.
Would be helpful. I mean, and I don't think we need, Charles to come here and explain it to us if we could just get it in the packet.
Sure.
We got one, and it wasn't what we were looking for, so I kind of clarified that, and I said, if we could get this quarterly, it would be great. And, gotten nothing.
Would that be the EDIC report that would come through, or you're looking for more?
I think it, I think it would be that, but I think it would also be, just basically what, the zoning enforcement officer is our agent enforcing the zoning regulations.
Great.
And, unless we see it in the EDIC report or the newspaper, we basically have no idea what's being done, or what the status of anything is, unless we make, repeated specific inquiries. And I thought, most other towns, you get the report as part of your meeting packet. Here it's kind of like, a federal FOIA request to get it, and it comes just as quickly.
So yeah, that's something that we can definitely do. One thing I will note is the town manager is planning to put the zoning enforcement officer, instead of reporting directly to the town manager, reporting to me, reporting to the town planner, and being in Planning and Economic Development Department. So we expect that to happen in the next few months, at the latest by the start of the next fiscal year. So that'll make things a lot easier to move forward with. But we can definitely try to get something, before that time too.
Yeah, frankly, I think we all get asked about things, and it's frustrating not to have an answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think this consolidation on the staff end will help a lot with that, but I think, the reports are something that can and should definitely be done. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, and just the question of, who do you go to when you want a big garage? Kind of getting one-stop shopping to provide the answer to those questions will be good for the community. All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about before the,
Rich, I have a question.
Sure.
Since you brought up what's going on with this, I was wondering, what's going on with the brewery across from Lucky Lou's?
Nothing.
Nothing. I had heard it was on the market
It is.
again,
Yes.
so
He's out?
Yep.
apparently so.
What did he have, like a lease to buy?
He had an option, I think.
An option to buy?
Yeah, and it was listed for sale in the last few weeks. There's a big sign out front right now.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, we have gotten numerous inquiries about it. No solid leads on anybody who's taken any further action yet, but as soon as we know, and as soon as it's, public, we'll pass along the info. So.
Was it a money issue with him? He ran out?
I don't know. It was before my time, but for whatever reason, it just fell through. I mean, I know, just following the news that it went through you guys quite a bit and went through HDC, and so it's disappointing that fell through, but hopefully we can get something just as good or better in its place.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very ambitious undertaking. I don't know, any members of the public have anything they want to say, or you just here as a warming shelter? Okay, all right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.